Do you want to design better responsive web pages using Elementor? Web pages that look awesome across devices and are fully mobile friendly? Then this tutorial is for you. Join me, Andrew, from Workcanva, where we build a fully responsive and mobile friendly web page using Elementor. So in this tutorial, we're gonna make a homepage for our fictional company Hidden Mantra, and we're also gonna make sure that it looks great on different devices. We're gonna learn some of the best practices about Elementor. So before starting the process and making this web page, as you can see, and putting all these elements, I'm gonna talk about a little about mobile friendly web design and the differences between a mobile friendly web design and responsive web design. And the first thing to understand is the difference between responsive and mobile friendly web design. So you definitely know what responsive web design means. It means that the web page responds to the medium that is loaded. So it acts like a water, and it changes. So when you have a layout, the layout changes on mobile and on tablet and on desktops. But a mobile friendly web design is a website that works exactly the same across devices, and it means that there are no unusable or hard to use features on mobile device. So you may have came across websites that are responsive, that change based on the device, and you can see that there are elements that are hard to use. So maybe there are very small buttons or very small text that are not readable easily. Basically, we're gonna make sure that our website looks awesome on mobile, tablet, and desktop, and we don't lose any kind of functionality. So if our visitor is coming from the mobile, he or she enjoys the same benefits comparing to a person that is coming from desktop. So I have just made a blank page using Elementor, and now we're gonna start building our website. Actually, we have the idea of the website before making it, and it's really good that you sketch the idea and the look and feel of the website before starting to work with Elementor, so that you know what you are creating and we know what elements we are putting. And I have collected the images that we are using, and also we're gonna use these two colors as our primary colors for this website. And I'm gonna use a free website, image color picker.com, which lets me to just upload my logo here, and actually it's showing me more colors than I have. So I have only two color here, but it's showing me more colors, and that's because the edges are using lighter colors, so we get this, but we only gonna use the first two colors here for our website. So let's get started. So before we start the process, I'm gonna add the navigator to the right. So if you get the navigator hanging on the page, you can just put it on the right, and it's really useful. I have seen that people are not using this navigator, but it's really powerful and really good. So now that I have the navigator, I can start building. And the first thing here is that we're gonna build a hero image with a text on. And I can go and add the image here, but because we're gonna have a text on it, it's better that we use the image as the background for our section. So I'm just gonna go and make a section here, a full width section here. And now I have a section and a column. So basically we are using this navigator, and you can see I have one section, and I can even change its name. So I can change its name to hero image. And I have a column here, so I'm gonna select the section, the whole section, and add the background. So I go to style and background, and I'm gonna choose classic background and image. And now I will put this image here, and as you can see, the image doesn't have much height, and that's because we don't have any content here. So basically this section has no height here, so I'm gonna add some padding here. And before we add the padding, I'm gonna just quickly review what paddings and margins are. So whenever we have a content on a web page, so it can be an image or a paragraph or a line of text or a logo or anything, we have a content and a surrounding box, a surrounding rectangle. So by default, whenever you add an image, the surrounding box is just there's no space between the surrounding box and the image. But if I add padding, we get some space here. So basically the image will not take the full area of the box, so the image will be smaller comparing to the surrounding box. So basically you will have some space between the border, which is the line surrounding the element, and the content. And also margin is just a space that elements have with each other. So margin is outside the border, outside the containing box. So if I add margin, we will get a space between the two elements, and the padding is just the space between border and content. So now I'm going to add some margin here so that it will grow and it will become bigger, because it has to take that margin into account. So I can just click here, or I can just select this hero image, the whole section here. And if I go to advanced, you can see I have margin here, and there are a few units here: pixel, em, percent, and rem or rem. So basically pixel, you know what pixels are. They're the smallest unit on a screen, but they are not very good for responsive web design, because when the device changes and the resolution changes, there are different number of pixels. So basically there are more pixels on a modern smartphone and new smartphone with a good resolution than there are in an old smartphone, an old device with the same size of displays. So basically pixels are not a good unit for responsive or mobile friendly web design. And we have em, which is the size of a default M letter, so it's just the size of the M letter. So one EM is just showing the size of one M letter. And we also have REM, which is similar to EM with the difference that it's the root. So R stands for root. Basically, when you make a different containers, the EM can change because every container can have a different default size, but REM is just always the same, and it's always the size of the M letter, the default. So basically REM is always the size of one M letter, but EM is the size of one M letter in the container. So if you are in another element, the EM can change. And also percent is just the percentage of the containing box. And we're gonna use percents for margin, as you will see that they are the best option here, because pixels are not very reliable, and EM and REM are better for text than they are for visual elements, but they are fairly good for responsive web design. So I'm gonna use percent, and I'm gonna start adding padding in percentage. And I think now about 20% or even less, about 17% looks good. So it's really important that you check whenever you add a new element, check that your web page is looking good on desktop and mobile as well. So I have seen people that they start making the page, and after they make the page, then they start to check whether it looks good on mobile, and then they start to change things. And it's much more efficient and professional if you just start building a mobile friendly and responsive web page right off the bat. So we are not building the web page and then taking care of the responsiveness. So we are checking whether it looks good on every viewport. And for this purpose, Elementor has a really good tool here, and all of the tools that we are using are available in the free version, and basically you don't lose any option in the free version as far as the responsiveness goes. So if I just click on the responsive mode, you can see I have free section here, mobile and tablets and desktops, and I can switch the viewport and see whether it looks good. So it's looking good on the desktop version, but not very good on tablet and mobile. So the first thing that we're gonna do is to change the way this image is positioned. So if I go to style and position, I'm gonna choose center, so it's basically centered, and now it looks much more better. And if I bring the tablet and mobile, we can see it's fairly good. Then I'm gonna select the size and change it to cover. And now you can see it looks better, and even on mobile we get a much better look. And now I'm gonna make the hero image on mobile devices a little taller. So if I go to style and advanced, you can see that the padding here is empty, and it's really important to understand that some elements have a little icon beside them, like here, and it's showing mobile and also on the padding, but some others don't. So for example, class CSS ID doesn't have any icon here, or CSS classes doesn't have any icon here, but Z index has and padding has. So basically it's showing the value for mobile, and if I change the size to tablet, you can see it's showing tablet, and if I change the size to desktop, you can see it's showing desktop. So basically we have entered the value for desktop, and you might wonder, okay, we have 17 for desktop, but how the mobile is getting its value, because it definitely doesn't have zero margin. And the way Elementor works is that these values are inherited from desktop to tablet and from tablet to mobile. So basically if I leave it empty here, it's getting its value from tablet, and tablet is getting its value from desktop. So basically it's getting the value of 17 here from desktop, but because we are leaving it empty, and if I now change this value, you can see we are getting much smaller value, because it's no longer getting its value from the desktop version, but rather it has its own value. So I'm gonna just add it. And oh, I'm using pixel, which is not good, so I'm gonna switch to %, and I'm gonna leave it to 22. So basically we have 22 for mobile and 17 for desktop. And for the tablet, I'm gonna just increase it a little bit. Oh, sorry, again, I'm using pixels, so it's really important that we're working with percentage. And now I think about 20, but 20 is good. So we have 17, 20, and 22. And now I'm gonna add the text here. So I'm gonna just select this element and add a heading. And I'm gonna just type find your hidden mantra. And I'm gonna select this. And as you can see, for example, title doesn't have a icon here, it doesn't have an icon. So basically I cannot change the title for mobile. And if I change this is universal. So it's really important to understand that, for example, alignment is not universal. So I'm just, if I change this value, it's gonna change only for mobile devices. And if I gonna make a universal change, so that's available on all devices, I'm gonna just switch to desktop and then change the value here. And now I'm gonna change the color here to white, and also I'm gonna center align it and increase the font size. So I'm gonna go to typography and font size, and for font we're gonna use EM or REM. REM here is safer, but here I don't think we get any difference. So basically REM is much better for text and typography than other units. And also we have VW, which stands for viewport width. So basically it's the we get the percent of one VW is equal to 1% of the viewport width, and it's like percent. So for typography we're gonna only use REM or EM. And now it looks good on desktop and on tablet, but not very good on mobile. We can see that it's way too big. So I'm just gonna select this element. And one other problem is that the margin is a lot. So basically the problem is not only with the text, but the margin is a lot. So I can just select the hero image section and margin, and basically the margin is inherited from the desktop. So I'm just gonna select %. And oh, sorry, I'm just talking about margin, but we have to change the padding here. So I'm just gonna go back one step, and you can always use this history here. And it's good that we use this history. So I'm just gonna go one step back here, or I think, oh yes, here. And now if I select this element and go to, if I select a hero image, and now I can reduce the padding here. So basically we set it to 22, but we're just gonna use a smaller value here. And we don't want to go negative, but about 3% I think is good. And now we can just reduce the size of this text. So I'm gonna select the text element here and style and typography, and we're gonna use the EM. And now it looks good on mobile. Tablet, gonna reduce the padding here a little. So I'm gonna just select the hero image and reduce the padding here. And now it looks good on tablet, desktop, and mobile. And you can see that the text is not very much visible. So I'm just gonna select the hero image and style, and I'm just gonna add a background overlay. So basically I'm just gonna go and grab this color here. So I'm just gonna copy the hex value, and I'm just gonna select the classic mode for overlay and color. And now I'm gonna paste the value here and increase the opacity. And now it looks just good. And now we're gonna add our 4 sections. So we're gonna have 2 pictures and 2 paragraphs. So I'm gonna switch to desktop mode and add a new section here. And this time we're gonna use 50-50. So we're gonna have 2 boxes here, each one taking 50% of the space. So basically each of course box is called a column, so we're gonna have 2 columns which with each one taking 50% of the available space. And now I'm gonna add an image tag here. And also we're gonna have a paragraph on the right. So I'm gonna select text editor. And for the text, we just gonna put a dummy text here. So I can just bring a free website called blindtextgenerator.com. And now I'm just gonna select, for example, Kafka. And now it's just giving me a dummy text, and it's too long actually. So I'm just gonna use a part of it. And you can see the image is not aligned very well with this picture. So I'm just gonna add a top padding here. So I'm just gonna select the text editor and advanced, and of course % here. And it's good, but we're gonna increase the text size a little bit. So I'm just gonna select the text again and style and typography. And now it's better, but of course the alignment is not good again. So we're gonna select it again and advanced. And now it looks good, but we're gonna have a little much more padding on the top. So I'm just gonna break the chain here and increase only the top value. And now it looks better. And if I just check it on mobile, you can see, well, it's not very good. On tablet. But on mobile again, it's very long. So basically we're gonna have less padding on mobile and tablet. So I'm just gonna select it in the mobile view. And I'm just gonna use % here. And I think about 5 or 4% just looks good to me. And also on the tablet, you can see it's much better. But again, the padding is too high. So I'm just gonna add my own padding. And now I think about 18. Oh, sorry, again, I'm using pixel. I always make this mistake. So I'm just gonna switch to %, and now it looks just awesome. And we're gonna have another section here, basically another picture and another paragraph. So I can just copy this section. At first, I'm gonna just name it the first 2 column. and I'm just gonna right click on it and click on duplicate. So I'm gonna get exactly the same section here, and it's really useful if you are having sections that are very similar. You can just duplicate them, and I'm just gonna call it second 2 column. And basically we're just gonna change their order here, and I can just do it from the editor here, but using the navigator is much more easier. So if I just look at the navigator, you can see I have 2 columns, and I can just change their place here, and basically just looks fine. And I'm just gonna change this picture. And of course we're gonna need more padding, more top padding here. So I'm just gonna select this image and advanced, and this time I don't forget %, and we're gonna add some top padding here, and of course we're gonna break the chain and only add the top padding, and I think 25 for the top and 555 for other sides is just good. And also we need a little, I think a little more padding here. And now it just looks good. And also on the mobile, you can see the elements are looking good, but they are not, their order is not correct. So we have the first image and the first paragraph, but we get the second paragraph here, but we want the image first and the paragraph second. And Elementor has a really good tool for fixing this problem. So if I just select the second column section and I go to advanced and responsive, you can see I have a few options here, and basically we're gonna check reverse columns on mobile. So basically we get the reverse column. So basically we have the image, the text, and again the image and the text for mobile, but we don't need this option on tablet because they are not stacked on each other. And next we're gonna add a gallery here. So I'm just gonna add a section here, a full width section and a basic gallery, and I'm just gonna add a bunch of images here. And you can see they are very small here, so I'm just gonna reduce the columns to 3. I think it's better. And also I'm gonna select large images, which looks much better, but also I want to have some space between the images, so I can just go to style and spacing and change it to custom. And now I can just add some margin here, which I think 20 is just good. And if I change the view mode, you can see it just looks good on mobile and tablet as well, so nothing to change here. And we're just gonna add a background color here. So I'm just gonna select the section, and I'm just gonna change its name to gallery, and I'm gonna select it and bring the style here and background, and we're gonna have a simple classic background, a solid color background. And I'm just gonna copy the color code here again. So I have the hex value, and I'm just gonna paste it here. And we're gonna have another hero image here, so I'm just gonna quickly add this. Or maybe we can just duplicate the first hero image, so it's much more faster and easier. So I'm just gonna duplicate this image here, and I'm just gonna bring it to the bottom. And now we're gonna change the picture, of course. And this time we're gonna put a paragraph here. So I'm just gonna delete this heading here, and I'm just gonna add a paragraph, a text editor here for paragraphs. And I'm just gonna go to my dummy text generator, and this time I'm just gonna grab this paragraph and paste it here. And I'm just gonna change the color to white again. And we're gonna have less padding here, so I'm just gonna go to hero image, and maybe I just change it to second hero image. And I'm just gonna reduce the padding. And of course, I have to increase the text size. And also, I'm just gonna use a blue overlay here. So I just select the section, the whole section, and style and background overlay. And now this looks better to me. And you can see our second hero image here is just touching our gallery, and I don't want this. So I can just select it, and as you can guess, we're gonna use margin here, and only we're gonna change the top margin. So I'm just change it to % and break the chain here. And now it looks better to me. Oh, but you can see it's not looking good on desktop, and I have made a mistake here. So you can see that I have changed the size for tablet. So basically the mobile is getting the size from tablet, but the desktop is not getting from tablet. So basically I've just added two margin padding, 2% padding here, and I'm just having 17% padding. So I'm just going to change it to 2. And also we have the problem with the text again, so I'm just gonna quickly change the size here. And now it looks much better. And you are noticing something. Yes, the picture has changed because I have just applied all of the changes to tablet, and it happens a lot with Elementor that you just forget to change the view mode here, and all of the changes have been applied to tablet, but we weren't expecting the background image to change here. And you can see we have a little icon here indicating that the background image is actually not global, so it's different. It can be different for different view sizes, and I can just quickly change this to what we should have. And now we are good to go. And the last thing that we're gonna add is a contact form, and let me just update the page here quickly. And basically I'm just using a free plugin here called Contact Form 7, and it's a really good contact form plugin. It's free, and we're gonna use that. And if you don't have it, just and want to follow along, you can just install it. It's free, and basically when you install it, you get a free default contact form here, contact us, and I'm just gonna use that. So it has a shortcut here. I'm just gonna copy the shortcut. And now I'm just gonna bring a shortcut element here and put it here, and we're just gonna paste a shortcut, and you can see I have my contact form here, which is very nice. And we're gonna have a heading here, so I'm just gonna select the element, the section, and I'm just gonna type start your show life. And I'm just gonna center align it, and I'm gonna just make sure that we are on the mobile, but there's no problem here because the heading is universal and the text is universal. But I'm just gonna switch to desktop and center align this, and I'm just gonna increase the font size a little bit. So I'm just gonna call it the heading and style and typography, EM of course. And now it looks better to me. And also it's good on tablet and mobile. No, it's very large on mobile, so I'm just gonna change the size here for mobile devices. And now it looks good on any device. Or maybe we're gonna just reduce the size a little on tablets. And basically now our web page is complete, but you can see we have a few problems here that Elementor cannot help us to solve. So for example, these text sizes are very small, and I cannot change this here because it's a widget. And also I'm like to have round boxes for text input and also round boxes around images. And basically we're gonna add a little CSS here, so our design is complete. I'm just gonna click update. And now if I bring my dashboard here, I have a plugin, another free plugin here. Called Simple CSS, and it basically lets us to add our own CSS to our site. And if I just go to appearance and simple CSS, and now as you can see, I have some really simple CSS here. And first I'm selecting all of the input and text areas in my form, and I'm just giving them a 2em border radius, meaning that they will have rounded corners. And I'm just selecting the submit button, and I'm just centering it and increasing the font size and giving it the top margin so it will look better. And finally, I'm selecting all of the labels in my form and giving them a font size of 2em, which will make them look bigger in any viewport. And I'm also selecting all of my images in my gallery, and I'm giving them a border radius of 2em, which will give them rounded corners. And basically, if you don't know CSS and don't understand this code here, it's totally fine, except the last one, which is giving our images rounded corners. All of the modifications are related to our contact form, and basically we are using contact form 7, which doesn't have really any style options, but there are lots of other contact form plugins which will give you some style options and will look great by default, so you can just use them. But if you like to use CSS and if you want to be able to tweak small things in your site, maybe you want to center a button and you don't want to change your contact form simply because you want to center your button, or you want to make it round, giving it round corners, or you want to make the font size bigger or change the color or more. So if you want to just tweak small things in your site and you don't know CSS, I have a really good tutorial on that subject, and I will teach you how to just change small things in your website with CSS. And I will talk about very good tools for changing CSS, some of the very good plugins for WordPress, which will visually let you select elements and change your CSS properties. So you don't need to understand how CSS works, except some very basic concepts. And you can just select elements and change their behavior, change their size or color. And I will also talk about Firefox and Chrome and how you can just generate CSS classes. So you can just generate this class here, and you don't need to actually write this. And I didn't write this myself. I use Firefox to just target the element, and I just set the text line to center, and that tutorial will help you, and I will put the link in the description if you'd like to check that out. And if I just click on preview, you can see it just looks good on desktop. And we get this much better contact form. And if you don't know CSS, you can just use another contact form which gives you some options to change the style. Basically, contact form 7 doesn't have such options, so I just had to use custom CSS. But you don't have to worry, there are lots of contact forms that have style options, and you can just change the style here. And if I just quickly bring the responsive design mode on Firefox, and you get a similar option on Chrome, and you can see now I can change the viewport size, and you can see it just looks awesome on any device. It's completely mobile friendly and it just looks good. But it seems that we have a problem here, of course, for this button, but we can just easily fix that. And everything else just looks great on any device here. So thanks for watching, everyone. And if you have any problem with this tutorial, just comment down below. And also, if you have any problem regarding WordPress or this tutorial, you can just always reach our team from the link in the caption. And just if you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more content. Thanks.